and we are back with a brand new episode of Valholla Now Radio. I'm your host, Vince. We got a lot to talk about today, but first we're gonna talk about TikTok. TikTok is unbanned. Like I mentioned on my last episode, I knew that the ban was only gonna be a few hours to a day. Now, TikTok is in a position where they have to divest. The company that owns TikTok, a company called ByteDance, has to divest a majority ownership in order for them to remain active in the US. Currently, the app is not available in the App Store, both on Apple and Google. So people that don't have the app downloaded in their phone can actually re-download it. So it's available back in the US, but people can't re-download it, and they're not gonna add it until they satisfy Congress's bill, which was passed through Biden, but it was started through the previous president, which is our current president now. What this means is that the company ByteDance has to sell a majority ownership to a US-based company. Now, I talked to y'all before and I told y'all that any reports of Elon Musk or anybody else buying TikTok was highly unlikely and won't happen. And that definitely is on pace as far as to be true, because with new reports happening where there's two companies in the running to purchase a majority stake in TikTok, which is Oracle and Microsoft. Oracle, I think, has the best chance of purchasing a majority stake in TikTok. At the moment, Oracle, they handle their, they host their actual app in the US. So if Oracle hosts their app currently, it's a good chance they have a relationship and they've already a working relationship. So I think it just makes sense for them to do that. But like I said before, the algorithm is not for sale. The reason why I say that is because although they may sell a majority stake of the company, they are not gonna let the algorithm fall into another company's hands. So they've already said this before, they've already mentioned it. So pretty much what's gonna happen is that they are, from what the reports are saying, what they're gonna do is they're gonna allow Oracle to obviously continue to host the site, but they're gonna also allow them to maintain the data collection and monitor data collection. But one aspect that you guys gotta check out is they said specifically on the algorithm that they would also maintain the algorithm, but I think that they're going to allow Oracle to host the algorithm, but they won't allow, it's hard to explain, but basically they're not gonna let Oracle get their hands on, or any other company get their hands on the algorithm. But to be honest with you, I think the algorithm slightly changed. I'm not gonna go too much further in that, but I think the TikTok algorithm already changed a little bit, but that's either here nor there. But Microsoft and Oracle are in the running to purchase TikTok. You can expect them to do the deal with Oracle over Microsoft. There's another company that they put a bid in to purchase TikTok, but again, I think the only companies that has a potential of doing it is Oracle and Microsoft. And Microsoft has a smaller percentage of actually having that deal go through. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep monitoring it. All right, so as I'm recording today, a new report came out. The question is AI copyrightable in music? So the Copyright Office did a report and they released it today. A work created solely through AI is not copyrightable, but a work that combines human creativity with AI can be copyrighted, so long as there's a sufficient amount of human expression in that work. The use of AI tools to assist rather than stand in for human creativity does not affect the availability of copyright protection for the output. This means that AI with human expression or human involvement, as long as it's sufficient enough, can be copyrightable. So this is going to solve a lot of gray area for what, or I'll say it's going to solve, yeah, it's going to solve a lot of gray area. It's still going to be a small gray area about the percentage of human creativity that's within these, creations. But that's super interesting. So I think if you remember remember in the last episode, I was making predictions on AI, and this kind of solidifies that there's going to be a lot more situations with artists, producers, things of that nature using AI. We already see Timbaland kind of leaning into it with Sono. But again, like, as long as and to be honest with you, I don't have a problem with AI. Like, I think, we have to figure out a way to maintain AI in the grand scope of things with music, because it's not a way to put the genie back in the box. It's, you know what I mean? So it's not a way to put the toothpaste back in the tubes. We have to figure out a way to kind of have AI involved within our workflow, if that makes sense. So pretty much it has to be a way to kind of get that within our workflow as far as on that end, because it's not going anywhere. We have to kind of make sure that, like, people don't get left behind. So it's like, if you are, so today with this report, if you were kind of like anti AI, like, this is going to be reason enough for you to start kind of at least trying to figure out how you can use it to your advantage as far as within music, as far as music is concerned. Like, and speaking of AI, there was a report that says that Deezer has 10,000 AI tracks uploaded to their platform daily. 10,000 tracks that are AI are uploaded to Deezer daily. I want to kind of tell you guys what this means. This doesn't just mean that it's uploaded to Deezer. That means that someone's uploading it to all streaming platforms. Deezer obviously is the one that's doing the report, but that means that all of the platforms are actually having this happen. So they also filed a patent. They filed 2 patents for a new AI detection tool, or whatever the case may be. So AI flooding the market, I don't agree with. Like, I don't vibe with, AI flooding the market. So it's like, that's one of the things, like, I kind of where I draw the line. Like, I don't rock with that. But I can tell you that as far as with AI itself, like, there is ethical ways to use AI. So, with that, again, we have to kind of figure out a way to add it to the workflow ethically in order for it to, assist the creativity, instead of using it to rely on it, if that makes sense. So that's kind of what I feel about that. In other news, so Roc Nation and a South Korean company called Musicow are partnering up to launch a new platform that is going to allow people to trade music royalties as far as on that end. So in the US, so this already technically exists, but not really on a wide scale. So this is kind of big, because what the company Musicow does, and I think I'm pronouncing that right. So what the company does is they buy copyrights of songs, and they allow people, like, people that's not in the industry and so forth, just regular people, to buy a percentage. So what they do is they buy the copyright, in full, and then they break those into chunks, and they sell those percentages to normal people. So when that song generates royalties, the user gets paid. So basically the owner or the new co-owners of this, through this trading platform, gets consistent royalties through that. Now, I have been saying, like to myself, that like, to be honest with you, I wanted to kind of do something like this because there's other platforms that allows like independent artists to kind of sell percentages of their royalties. Obviously, it's done on through Web3 and so forth, but this is kind of different because I think, you know, with Web3 there is a barrier of entry kind of. It's like a lot of people don't want to download an app and then trade tokens to get this, and Web3 still has a lot to accomplish when it comes to simplicity. So I think like a trading platform like this is going to make the act of purchasing percentages of copyrights easy. So the service is similar to what is currently offered by JKBX, which is technically like a competitor in South Korea. And it had a soft launch in 2023, initially allowing users only to reserve royalty shares while awaiting regulatory approval from, I said that wrong. So actually they're in the US, but through JKBX, users can only buy royalty stakes in hits written or recorded by various superstar songwriters and so forth. So for example, like let's just say if I'm a producer and I produced a song on a Beyonce album, and I have a 10% royalty on, or 5% royalty on a song, whatever the case may be. Like I could sell that 5% royalty or 2%, whatever the case may be, and people will be able to buy it in chunks. So people will be able to buy hit records, like percentages of hit records. It'll be small percentages, but it's like I think the novelty of saying, okay, well, I love this song and I actually also own a piece of it is pretty dope. It's a pretty dope concept. I think it's going to, with people with crypto going crazy and everything else, I think is going to be one of those things that a lot of people are going to get into as the platforms get simpler to use and things of that nature. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of this. I love the concept. I love the idea. Definitely keep an eye out on that. The company is called Musicow. I'm not sure if with the Roc Nation partnership, if they're going to create a new name for the company, but probably not. So look out for that company itself. And tell me if you are going to be buying music royalties and if this is something that you're probably interested in. In other news, UMG and Spotify have signed a new direct agreement. And this is like a licensing deal, but it feels a lot more different than just the regular licensing deals that they've done in the past. So this direct deal also is connected to their publishing company, UMPG. So there's 3 different kind of like highlights from this deal. One of them is that they're calling this deal the entryway to streaming 2.0, which is going to allow people to possibly pay in tiers, pay for higher tiers for artists that they, love to get music first before anyone else, before it's out. More so super fan tools within Spotify, it looks like they're planning on doing. I'm not 100% sure because they don't detail how it's going to work, but this is definitely something that you should definitely keep your eye out on. Another thing that they have, they had something within the deal that kind of controls how much royalties that they get. Maybe that there's an increase or something, like when the amount of Spotify increase. Like let's just say if they do a rate increase on the cost of the service, I think there's something, I have to read more into it, but I think that has something to do with that. But the deal itself has a lot of different aspects in it. I think we'll probably see more of what this really does in the future. So definitely keep an eye out on that. And I'll keep you posted on other things that come in with this deal per se. So just so you know, like just for anyone that is curious on how these deals work, or a regular licensing deal. So every major label and even independents through a company called Merlin, negotiate deals to have their services on the platform. I think there's possibly some independents that directly deal with Spotify, but that's few and far between. Most labels, even if you're independent, you have some kind of situation where someone is negotiating these things on your behalf. So anyone signed to Universal, obviously Universal is going to do the negotiating on your behalf. If you're an artist with Universal, if you're an artist with Sony, same thing. If you're an independent artist or independent label, most likely these deals are structured through Merlin. So Merlin, they represent many independent labels and so forth. And so that's kind of how that works. So if you're, and also Merlin, just so you know, like Merlin kind of, like let's just say they'll suggest you actually work with particular labels that they already kind of situated with, like the certain distribution companies and so forth. I know Merlin once worked with AWAL directly, but obviously when they got bought, all of the deals that kind of handle licensing and so forth goes through Sony since they were bought. So that's kind of how that works. So if you're wondering, like a company like DistroKid, if you uploading music through DistroKid, you're not getting the same rates as someone signed to Universal as far as the rates per stream. So yeah, so if you are an artist, like obviously graduating to a company that kind of works with, and obviously there's different, things that you got to keep in mind if a with the particular distribution company that you're working with, maybe taking a percentage, whatever the case may be. It really just depends on how much you're making. Like someone like a Russ might make more money working with TuneCore versus with working with the label, even if it was just distributed by that label. But maybe not. Maybe he would get more per stream if he worked with a major distribution company or a distribution company that was connected to a major. So it just depends. And these numbers, these rates aren't publicly, known or whatever the case may be. So yeah, so just wanted to kind of give you a little insight on that. But I also had something interesting that I wanted to talk about. Splice revealed their most trending genres that are being downloaded from their platform, and it's interesting. So this is the genres with the most growth and decline. Plug-in B is the fastest growing genre on Splice. K-pop is next, Jersey Club, Drift Funk, Melodic Techno, Big Room House, Rage, Melodic House, Afro House. That's interesting because I heard a DJ out in South Africa say something about electronic Afro beats, or as far as a genre that's connected to Afro beats that's gonna include an influence with electronic music, is kind of being maybe the next thing in South Africa as far as to come out. So definitely keep an eye out on that. So one of the last stories that I wanted to share is something that Billboard actually recently talked about, where it's the title of the article is America's Second: Why English Language Music from Countries Like the US is Losing Global Market Share. The share of music from primarily English-speaking countries fell in 2024, a trend furthered by an increasingly globalized economy and digital tools allowing for wider distribution. The article goes on to say, brace yourself. Ultra-patriotic perfectionists, English language music from countries like US is losing market share around the world and even in their home markets. Despite the US owning the world's most powerful culture machine, people in other countries want to listen to music performed in their native language. According to Illuminate's 2024 year-end report, music from the US and other English-speaking countries accounted for a lower share of global premium streams in 2024, more than the prior year. The United Kingdom had the biggest drop in market share, falling 47 percentage points to 8.59%, while the US dropped 0.44% to 44.29%, and Canada fell 0.39 to 3.34%. In the Philippines, where English is spoken by roughly half of the adults, music from the UK and US were the biggest losers in the market share. So this is happening because more and more people have access to distribution, more and more people have access to streaming services. So this is super unique because we're kind of seeing a situation where other countries, it's also been reported that eventually India is going to overtake, like as far as US, as far as streaming users. So, you know, we're entering a situation where other countries, other languages are being prioritized in their particular countries. So if I'm in the Philippines, I might want to listen to someone in that native language versus hearing a song that's English, and that's growing. So I think anyone that's traveled over the past 20 years to other countries have noticed that, you know, American music is super popular in other countries. But what if there's a day where that is not really the case? So I think that's something that we all, as, you know, creators or whatever the case may be, or even, you know, consumers of music, will have to think about and so forth, because we're in a state now that we can create music and we can go on and have amazing careers by speaking in one language. But there may be a day where you might have to have your music in multiple languages. We already see other companies like Hive doing this, where they're putting their music in other languages and so forth. And I think that might end up being a norm. Just like how you have a clean, dirty version and stuff like that, you may have to actually have multiple versions for different countries, and specifically depending on how the market share shapes up. So basically, if someone has a market share another country has a market share that's getting up there, then there might have to be a recalculation of how that music is distributed, and you might have to distribute music in another language. Like myself, for example, we have a single through our collective, Vincent Valholla Empire. We have a single called Forever. We're gonna do multiple languages for that single itself. We're doing a Spanish version really soon. We're doing other versions itself. So my goal is to kind of explore that as well. So if you're an artist, you're gonna have to start thinking about you know, making sure you have different versions of your song. And there's technology now that's coming. Well, it's actually already here, where you can put in a song that's set in English, and AI can change it to another language. I'm not sure how good the technology is yet, but apparently it's getting there. It's already pretty good, and it's up to commercial standards. So that's something that we're going to have to look into. So definitely take a look at that. Keep that in mind. And as far as if you're a creator, keep this in mind. And if you're just an average consumer of music, then that's just something that you're going to end up seeing and so forth. Will you be doing Duolingo via music and learning other languages through music? So I wanted to talk about some things that I'm watching. So One of Them Days, starring Keke Palmer and SZA, was a hit in theaters. It was #1 in its debut week. And the movie itself, I want to give you guys my personal review. Now, the movie that they were able to produce is something that is missing in the comedy genre right now. Like comedy, and like it's something that we haven't seen since like the Friday series and other series like it, as far as those series of movies. it's like, I think we are missing that aspect of movies and the aspect of the kind of movie it is. It's just, you have to see it. I feel like this movie is going to be a classic. It's going to be considered a classic or a cult classic, and for good reason. This movie was very well put together. Shouts to everybody that's involved, and I love the film. And like I said, you know, I know people are going to make comparisons to other movies like Friday and stuff like that, but you know, it has those same kinds of beats, but it's a completely different movie, completely different premises. But it's something that you definitely should see in the theater. So if you have a chance to see it in theaters. So another thing that I'm watching is a show called The Agency. It's a show that's on Showtime, and or Showtime Plus, however that works. But yeah, it's on Showtime, and I'm hearing one of their most streamed series to date. It's really good. It stars Michael Fassbender and a bunch of other people that you'll familiarize yourself, that you're familiar with as far as in movies and TV. And it's such a great show. I'm a fan of spy thrillers and stuff like that, and this show is really something that you should check out. So if you love spy thrillers, if you love thrillers, this show is something that you definitely have to watch. And you know, there may be, and I also want to say this, you have to pay attention to shows like this. You have to pay attention. You got to put the phone down. You can't just watch these shows passively. You have to pay attention and watch these shows with your full attention. So make sure when you do that, watch it with your full attention, because if you miss something, you're gonna miss a lot of big aspects of the story. So you gotta make sure you do that, and so forth. So again, like, and this isn't something I'm watching now, but this is something that I've watched in the past, which was Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That show, I might have to actually rewatch that again. So, you know, I also have a confession to make. I watched Love Island USA for the first time. I gotta admit that I was missing out. That show was crazy. That show is crazy. I love it. It's I don't even know if I could say it's a guilty pleasure, but they got me. It's a great show. Now, obviously, I think these types of shows is best watched with your significant other, but regardless, that show is great. Love Island, the recent season that just that aired aired last year, is great. So that's my confession as far as on that end. There's a bunch of other things that I'm watching. Night Agent season 2 is on, and I'm checking that out. The Madness just finished that. That was a good show. So y'all check that out. The Madness, it's on Netflix. It's a thriller. Y'all gotta check that out. The Madness. And I think y'all like it. So yeah, check that out. And I think there's a few others, but I'll kind of revisit next week as far as with some others that I probably missed. But that's what I'm watching right now. So that's our show. Next week we're gonna talk about the Grammys. Not really gonna do predictions because it's just the mood is kind of different. LA Fire is kind of dampened my mood for award season a little bit. But with that being said, we'll talk about the Grammys next week. As far as the music videos that are coming up next. So remember, this is a music video mix show. So we got music videos coming up next. New music videos from Sexy Red and Bruno Mars. There's a new Jenny video that's crazy. Y'all gotta check that out. So y'all gonna watch that. A new Lotto video with Playboy Cardi and a bunch of others. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far Thank you so much for watching. If you're not watching this on a playlist, then you could check us out on YouTube. You could just go to our main page, go to playlists, you'll see it, episode 6, as far as on that end. So just make sure you watch it and then watch the music videos after. Check out the music videos. We also got the latest from Vincent Valholla Empire, New Shoes. You can catch me, doing a 2-step, and y'all rate my 2-step. Y'all do it. Y'all let me know what y'all think, and let me know what y'all think of the mix this week. So as far as on that end, thank you so much for watching. This is Vince signing out. See y'all next week.